Gamefreak had a giant leak. A whole entire terabyte of content was data mined from their offices. And in today's video, we're going to talk about the Generation 3 content that got cut from Pokemon Ruby and Sapphire. So first, we're going to take a look at the Generation 3 starters in the original concept art. As you can see right here, my boy Trico has stood the test of time. Some of you guys just don't understand peak Pokemon design. My boy Trico never had really much changes except for a couple of color changes, but my boy has stayed peak. Shout out to my boy Sapphire, love him to death. We also have right here Torchic's beta design, and this actually proves that these leaks are real because back in 2020, there was actually a Pokemon Ruby and Sapphire Space Station demo leak. I'll pop it up on screen because I haven't researched that in a couple years now, but I believe it was a demo that got leaked back in 2020 and had a bunch of source code that also got extracted from that demo that revealed a bunch of stuff that never got added into Ruby and Sapphire. And one of those things was an old version of Torchic. Also in there, it also did reveal about a Latios and Blaziken fusion that was never introduced into the final game. And the other thing that I'm really excited about is this water starter that never made it into the final game of Ruby and Sapphire. It was just scrapped altogether. Now, I honestly really love this bunny with the little pool floaty, but at the same time, I totally understand how Mudkip made the final cut because I do agree Mudkip is pretty much a peak starter design, that is for sure. But still, I wish that this water bunny was introduced in some sort of Pokemon game in the future. And using Google Translate from my phone here, from the raw translation, it looks like this thing was supposed to be called Wallabit. And again, I really wish we could have had this Pokemon in some sort of Pokemon game in the future, even though I do agree that Mudkip is awesome. The other thing I want to take a look at here from this whole Gen 3 beta sprite list is this right here. So as some of you guys know, way back in 2020, when we had a bunch of these Pokemon leaks, I believe this got leaked from 4chan, and this was concept art on a possible Blaziken and Latios fusion, and it was speculated that this was the old design of Blaziken. Now, with these leaks being so fresh, there was some speculation that this Pokemon right here, this Blaziken Latios fusion, was actually originally supposed to be a Delibird fusion because of some issues with Google translating, and I'll pop this up on screen. So people were saying that this Delibird was supposed to get an evolution that was supposed to look like Latios and Latios, but that is actually false. What is actually the case is the fact that it looks like Latios and Eldhawk were actually made at the exact same time. Now, I think it would have been hilarious if the Latios and Blaziken like fusion Pokemon this whole time was originally a Delibird fusion. Well, unfortunately, that's not the case. But again, that would have been hilarious. It just seems like that this was going to be an early version of Blaziken, and at the same time, they made Latios. And if I would have to take a guess, if I was a developer, they probably thought that these sprites were pretty similar, so they wanted to make Blaziken more unique. And as you can tell here, they also had a different concept art for Blaziken here, where he is kind of staying up in a normal pose, and they just kind of scrapped this Pokemon altogether. But what is crazy though is the fact that there is a front and back sprite of this Eldhawk Pokemon, and honestly, I really wish we got this in the final games. I really hope that people out there that like to make Pokemon ROM hacks introduce this Pokemon as an official Pokemon in their games, because I think this design, even though yes, we have Blaziken already, we have a Latios, and again, Latios is not even part of the mix anyways, but still, even though we have Blaziken already in the game, I still feel like this would be a really cool Pokemon to have in some way, shape, or form. So I really hope something like this gets added into Pokemon fan games for sure. Some other cool stuff from the Terra leak that I do want to talk about here is the fact that there is a demo of Camerupt and Blastoise fighting each other. And fun fact, Camerupt was the first ever Generation 3 Pokemon that was fully designed. So that is really cool. But yeah, I thought the old battle UI for Gen 3 is actually really cool. Now, I think the final design of the Gen 3 battle UI is better, but as you can see right here, it looks like we have on the left-hand side all the Pokemon that you have, and it actually shows the status of what Pokemon that you have, whether they're asleep or I think poison. I can barely tell from how pixelated this stuff is here. As you can see, Blastoise, for whatever reason, at level 18 is facing a Camerupt at level 18. There's also some Pokeballs that we've never seen before. Like we have a pink Pokeball, a cyan Pokeball, and kind of like a silver purple Pokeball here too, which is really interesting. But again, these are probably just sprites, just super quickly made sprites of old Pokeballs from way back when they're doing development and beta testing and all that fun stuff right here. We also have a old party checker way back in the day when they're in early development of this game. And again, as you can see right here, this is very Gen 2 style instead of the modern Gen 3 UI when it comes to looking into your party and seeing what Pokemon you have. And again, they have this weird, again, this looks like it's from Dragon Quest. They definitely took a lot of inspiration from Dragon Quest, that's for sure. Because yeah, this is a sprite of a Pokemon that we have never seen before. Like it kind of looks like Charizard, but again, I don't think Charizard has pants. This guy looks like a Charizard with pants and green wings. It's really weird. But yeah, as you can see, some of these Pokeballs that we've never seen before, like an early version of the Love Ball, a like Scion Ball, again, probably to symbolize maybe a Master Ball or a Great Ball before they did the official artwork artwork for it in the final game. And then again, some of the other really cool stuff in here too, like some of the other Generation 3 sprites from the Terra leak. First couple ones we're gonna actually take a look at right here is this Spider Lily Pokemon. So apparently this one right here actually was a bug psychic Pokemon that never got into the final game of Pokemon Ruby and Sapphire. But yeah, it is a really cool concept. This was leaked to go from a different Gen 3 leak a couple years ago. But yeah, a Pokemon that looked finished, but they just never made the final cut, which is a little disappointing. We also have an early version of Flygon here, which actually looks very similar to the Trapinch and Vibrava line. As you can see, this Flygon looks very similar to Vibrava, and then just last second, they decided to just completely switch how Flygon looks and made it into, I would say, a cooler Pokemon for sure. I think they must have thought that no one was gonna really like the Flygon design even though it makes sense with the Vibrava line. So instead of canceling Vibrava, they decided to just do a whole new Flygon sprite altogether. And again, this guy does look a little goofy, but still really cool Pokemon right here. We also have an early version of Pelipper, and I'm not gonna lie, Pelipper looked way more threatening in this leak compared to what it is now in the final design. Like Pelipper really looks like a toilet, but this one looked actually really cool. We also have some early concepts of Hariyama and Tropius right here, which is really crazy looking. So that's really cool to see that these Pokemon right here in their old forms compared to their final forms is insane. And everybody on Twitter was laughing at this little cute little guy. I can see why he did not make the final cut, but we just have this random just blob of just wonderfulness here, along with some other funny looking Pokemon. We also have some old concepts of Lotad and Shedinja that look extremely scary. I think I'm gonna get haunted with nightmares from these sprites because these are genuinely creepy looking. We also have some OG artworks of Lombre and Claydol here. Claydol looks very similar to its final design, obviously with a lot of tweaks to make it like more unique and not so plain looking. But yeah, it's just really weird to see a Lombre without his little like hat. It just doesn't look right. He definitely looks like, I would say, like a water monkey more than like evolution of Lotad for sure. So I'm glad that they did add the little lily pad on the top of his head. Apparently this one right here is actually an old version. I think this might be an old version of Seedot. I'm not sure about this one, but this one right here is actually an old version of Masquerade. So yeah, as you can see right here, there's Masquerade, and it was originally supposed to be the eyeball Pokemon. There's not really a Pokédex description for this one right here, but there is a Pokédex description for this guy right here. This one is the Darkness Pokemon. It lurks in the darkness of caves, lying in a wait to ambush his prey. No matter how dark it is, the eyesight is strong enough to make out a pebble. So I think this one right here was actually an old concept art of Sableye, possibly, because Sableye was found in caves. It was also holding something, which was really cool. We also have Sharpedo here too, and this one is the Brutal Pokemon. It is feared and referred to be the gangster of the seas. Its sharp teeth grown back quickly, and it is broken when it uses them too, and it cuts off at the end there. But I'm not gonna lie, I actually really like this Sharpedo design. I think I would rather have this Sharpedo design than the final version of Sharpedo, if I'm gonna be honest, because I actually really love the fact that it's just a really cool looking shark. We also have the Claydol description right here. It is said that it was born from earthen dolls that were bathed in cosmic rays, and it has no legs and moves by floating in the air, which is also really crazy right here. We also have a Pokédex description for Foster, the Foster Pokemon. If it has no offspring, it will seek out small living thing and place onto its back. It brushes its teeth by gnawing on a hard object. So this one is just a scrap Pokemon altogether. Really cute bunny. Yeah, it looks like it's over here. Again, I think this was just a scrap Pokemon completely. I don't think this is a reference to any other Pokemon per se, but what an adorable little guy. I actually like it a lot. Some other things that stand out to me here is the fact that we have an OG Electrike and Manectric sprites right here. Very similar to their final designs. They just did a couple tweaks to make them more unique and stand out in the Gen 3 artwork. We also have the evolutions. This kind of reminds me of Skitty, but I don't think it is related to Skitty. Again, just a bunch of scrap Pokemon here. We also have an old version of Clamperl, and I forgot what this guy is, Huntail, I believe. An old version of Huntail, which is really cool. Oh, and it looks like Makuhita sprite may have turned from this evolution line into Makuhita that looks similar to this Hariyama right here. That's a fun little guy. Yeah, they turned this little sumo wrestler from maybe this like ice fighting Pokemon to just a fighting type only, which is really crazy. We also have some OG artwork of the front and back sprite of Absol. Thank goodness they changed the Absol design. I do like what they were trying to go for though. They were definitely trying to really symbolize the yin yang design. As you can see, they really focused on the yin yang design, which is really cool. And then it looks like Absol used to have a red and blue eyes instead of just plain red eyes, which is really cool. So that is actually awesome. I'm glad they did do the changes though, because these sprites definitely looked very unfinished. And the Absol that we have today, I think, is really cool. We also have Swablu and Banette, which is really cool. I think this is an early version of Breloom before they completely scrapped it and did an actual Breloom. So that's cool looking. We also have Trapinch right here. No signs of Vibrava though, even though we do have this version of Flygon over here, which is actually pretty crazy. We also have, I don't know why Donkey Kong got into Gen 3, but apparently Donkey Kong did not make the cut. Probably an old version of Slacking, but still, no signs of Slacking from these Gen 3 sprites right here. It's just, yeah, Donkey Kong's just hanging out, got fist, and he's ready to go crazy. I actually like this one though. I think this would actually been really cool to have, but obviously with Slacking being super powerful, they need to have an excuse for his ability Truant to make more sense. And this guy looks like he would not rest. This guy looks like he would pack a punch for sure. And then, oh, this is cool. So it looks like we have some early forms of Castform. So Castform actually used to been a really cool looking Pokemon instead of just a floating pair of balls. Like, I don't know why Castform's final design was a floating pair of balls. It makes no sense to me. But we also have the wind, water, and fire sprites for Castform, which I actually like a lot. I really like this wind one too. It looks really menacing, which I like a lot. We also have that little rock flying Pokemon I was talking about right here. So we actually have the base form of it. It looked to have been like a little coiled snake, kind of similar to like some folklore and stuff like that from like the deserts and stuff. And then I believe this guy would evolve into the rock flying type, into this like, you know, standing up little humanoid little creature that used to look like Grovyle. So that's cool too. And then we also have some artwork from Sugimori himself that actually did some concept art for some of these Pokemon that did get added into Ruby and Sapphire, and some of them that got scrapped, unfortunately. So as you can see, we actually have Torchic and Blaziken right here in the new Blaziken form. We have that rock flying Sceptile. We have that rock flying Grovyle that never got added to the final games. We got old versions of Skitty, Sableye, and a lot of other really cool concepts. And of course, this adorable little guy right here that never made the cut, unfortunately. We also have this little like sky looking Pokemon, which I'm not sure what this one originated from, but this guy looks really cool too. And we also have some OG artwork of Poochyena and Azumarill, which is really cute. And I'm not sure what this guy on the bottom right here, I don't know if this is like an old version of Bagon or whatever the case may be, but there's some concept art for some sort of dragon looking Pokemon there too. There was also some insanely horrifying concept art of some Pokemon that you guys may recognize. Like right here, we have Cacnarine, dark grass type cactus, and man, this version of it looks menacing. I actually wish that this wasn't the final games, because this is actually insane. We also have concept art of Deoxys, which looks really cool. It looks like the final design is very similar to the concept art, which is really cool. And from the same artist, there's actually a lot of discarded Pokemon that never did make it into any single Pokemon games. So the same artist that made the Cacnarine concept art also made a lot of other menacing looking creatures, which look really cool. So we're just gonna kind of showcase some of them right here. A lot of scary looking Pokemon for sure, but absolutely really cool designs. And again, even though it's not really Pokemon themed, definitely would look like it would be in a game like Monster Hunter. I still think this would be really cool to have in some sort of Pokemon game for sure. But yeah, these are some very menacing looking sprites, that's for sure. So last thing we're gonna take a look at right here is every single Generation 3 Pokemon from start to finish that is confirmed. Now, this is gonna show the final sprites of certain Pokemon that did make the final cut, while also mixing in the beta sprites that did get cut, but still is in the proper index number. So like I said, Camtra was the very first Generation 3 Pokemon finished, and the last one was actually Bagon, interesting enough. And then as you can see, some of these beta sprites of all these different Pokemon right here were kind of mixed in here and there. And because of that, this list is not going to show the cut water Pokemon that we showcased at the beginning of this video. It's just going to show the Mudkip line over here. But again, it's really cool to see what the roster could have been for Generation 3. And I think there's a lot of cool Pokemon that could have been added into the final games that just never got added in the first place. What an insane leak that just happened for Generation 3. Make sure to leave a like on today's video if you guys enjoyed, and subscribe to my YouTube channel, because I do want to talk about the Generation 4 and Generation 5 leaks that happened on some old beta content for Heart Gold, Soul Silver, Diamond and Pearl, and Black and White. So make sure to subscribe to my channel for that. Other than that, I'll see you guys later, and adios.